The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
If you really want to doge, this is how you doge. You don't vote for bad legislation that expands government. Thank you.
Now we're talking about taxpayer money, and we're talking about accountability. It is their money. This isn't a government program we're actually spending on. We're actually giving it back to the people of Idaho.
There's other options for making our ballots more secure, such as using watermarks or putting holograms on the ballots.
And I think that that's what we need to look at more, is trying to get back to what we used to be, where our churches and our families took care of each other instead of relying on the state.
I asked the question rhetorically, if we gave them another $1 billion, they wouldn't be happy. Well, we've given them $2 more billion, and it's not enough.
We need to start making Idaho first. We need to start making America first.
Other states like Texas and Florida have enacted similar laws to address illegal immigration, both locally and in their communities. And Idaho has the right to protect itself when the federal government has failed to do that.
COVID presented us with quite the enigma. We didn't really know what it was or what to do, but that is no excuse to violate the rights of the citizens of the state of Idaho.
Say vote no on this and let the teachers teach and quit bringing in coaches to teach the teachers to teach, and let's get education going again in Idaho.
I don't know what's coming after this current administration for the feds, and we need this law because our federal laws on immigration have failed.
Mr. President, I think it's incumbent upon us to allow parents to use their hard-earned dollars to provide what's best for their children.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
My concern is that the resilience of Idahoans who believe in self-reliance and self-responsibility will be eroded.
We need to be protecting our First Amendment rights, not inventing ways to slowly chip away at them.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Yeah, watch it.
Well, good morning, fellow patriots. It is January 26, 2026, and Idaho Signal is broadcasting live from Kootenai County to all counties across the great free state of Idaho. But folks, if you think that the madness unfolding in Minnesota is just some blue state drama that we can tune out from our place west of the Rockies, you need to wake up. The Minnesota Lieutenant Governor is reportedly an admin on a Signal chat to coordinate protests against ICE. Folks, I don't know if you've seen the footage from within this operation. It's truly remarkable. You put that along with the state suing to block federal deportations, essentially halting this Operation Metro Surge, plus the sanctuary policies that are openly sabotaging law enforcement. Folks, this is an organized rebellion against the federal government and our nation's borders. You have high-ranking officials coordinating with leftists on the ground in Minnesota to shield criminal illegal aliens. They've been jacking up housing, healthcare, every taxpayer service meant for our citizens. And then with the violent among them, they're terrorizing people. I believe Idaho needs to stand up and lead. Our legislature should pass a resolution condemning this insurrection. They should ban non-essential state travel to Minnesota. They should divest our pension funds from their bonds and cut contracts with companies headquartered in the state. Minnesota wants a civil war. Then we should stand up and be clear on where we stand. Because brushing this off as, it's not our fight, is dangerously naive. We're inching closer every day to an actual civil war in this country. And it's not just Minnesota. It's creeping up all across the country, even in our own backyard down in Boise. There are states, not just Minnesota, that are defying the feds and their work at ICE. The coordinated sabotage of law enforcement and the violence is escalating like clockwork. I want you to take a hard look and ask yourself this one question. How does any of this de-escalate? How does it de-escalate? Because the left doesn't want de-escalation. They're passionate, they're organized, they are relentless. And whether it's grassroots rage or fully funded AstroTurf, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter one bit. They're out there fighting tooth and nail to destroy our country, driving the current division straight toward bloodshed. And they will keep pushing until what? And good Lord here, I'm losing my earpiece. Pretending otherwise here is pure fantasy. Imagine if the left funneled this same fire and commitment, but for the ending of the slaughter of our unborn babies, or for slashing wasteful spending that's bankrupting our kids and grandkids. Imagine if they had the same fervor for exposing stolen elections or rooting out the corruption rotting Congress from the inside. You know, the issues that supposedly keep you up at night. But no, their zeal is laser focused on tearing down borders, shielding predators, and silencing anyone who disagrees by either bite or bullet. And they're actually doing it right now in real time. Go ahead, call me extreme or hyperbolic, but they've already tried to assassinate Trump twice. Charlie Kirk was gunned down in front of 1,000 college students live and across millions of people's smartphones. Assassinated while promoting free speech and civil discourse. The very things that used to define this country. And whether it's a lone gunman, foreign meddlers, or deep state strings being pulled, it does not matter. That's all noise, because the result is the same. There is blood on the ground, and our nation is fracturing deeper. And yet here we are. Some of us too exhausted from fighting through COVID, the lockdowns, the mandates, and the endless battles since. We've all been fighting. I've been fighting. I know you've been fighting. Some of you very hard. But the left, they don't get tired. You've ever seen a zombie movie? Right? Leftists work day in and day out. And for them, this isn't a hobby. It's their religion. They worship many gods, not the least of which is the God of war. We honor the only true God, the one true God. In Matthew 10, when Jesus instructs his apostles on what they should do, remember, they're being sent out as sheep among the wolves. For Jesus did not come to bring peace to the world, but a sword. The fight is on, folks, whether you're fully rested or not. So, our Idaho legislators, let's make some moves. Let's stir the pot. Stand up for something, or we will wind up sitting with nothing. And to everyone else caught slack-jawed by these remarks, open your eyes and get in the game. Complacency is how we lose everything. And with that, I'm extremely just disappointed in some of the reaction that we've seen across our side of the aisle, our side of the fight, and I just hope that we have more people coming to grips with what's really going on. So thank you for that. All right, And for those who think we can't do more than one thing at a time, we can address the things that are going on in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and we can also take care of the things that are going on here at home. And so we will continue to do that. This morning, there was committees. There was committees yesterday afternoon. We have the Idaho legislature just fully on board and fully engaged in doing a lot of cleanup and making sure that we can get things moving forward here. We have a few guests on the docket today. We're hoping to get Senator Brian Lenny on. And if he can't join us, then we'll reschedule that as well. I'm wondering, guys, if there's anything going on in the Senate or House, just give me a heads up if there is. We can and maybe we can check in on what's going in there. Let me look at this morning in the House Health and Welfare Committee. There was a lot of bills being presented this morning very quickly. We're in the print phase right now, where they're printing bills and modifying them if they need to be modified at the very beginning before we start having public hearings on all of this. And so okay, yeah, I'm just getting word. We have nothing in the House, and the Senate floor is out as well. But this morning, wasn't it this morning in House and Welfare? Guys, that they were up there this morning. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at a clip. I could talk about this one on my own here. Representative Chris Bruce had a few different bills beforehand, and this one I haven't read the bill yet, but let's hear the one on cash payments. When you go in for hospital service. This was this morning in Health and Welfare.
I'm Representative Bruce, District 23. So RS 32947 essentially allows when you go to have a medical procedure done, they are required to give you the cash price and the insurance price. It allows you to pick, and then it also does take that price that you pay and apply it towards your deductible. So my son recently had Crohn's disease. When we went out, we have insurance. Some of the providers required us that we use the insurance, some didn't. So you'll hear, if it's introduced, you'll hear stories of different things. So, but that is my goal, is just to allow you to negotiate the cash price and have it applied towards your deductible.
So committee, any questions? Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For a motion.
Motion's in order.
To introduce RS 32947.
Committee, we do have a motion to introduce RS 32947. The only question I have, Representative Bruce, do people have that much cash on hand?
We'll find out, sir.
Or does the hospital or the doctor actually know what the cost is when you get there? That's a couple of questions we might want to ask later on. Representative Wheeler.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just for a question, if I may.
You may.
I intend to support the motion, but Representative Bruce, just maybe one of the questions, if you'd come prepared to answer at the full hearing, is I just want to understand how this will interface with contractual requirements between payers and providers, and some of the implications there, if you would.
I believe that was just not a question, but a piece of advice, so that next time you'll be prepared when you come before the committee. And I think that's probably a good idea to figure out how they interact between them all. So with that, I don't see any other lights on. We can
apologies here. Some of the some of the lagging in the in the video there. made Chairman there sound like he should have retired years ago. Okay, so but back to the bill. This is one of those things that's very it's one of those most annoying things whenever you go to a doctor's office and they don't have, like, they've talked about this for years, like basically having a menu. Here's what things cost. And the reason why we don't have this is because of the health insurance industry. It's because, well, these people will pick up this amount, they will pick up this amount. The government has their own Medicaid, Medicare, and all these different things. And so the price of everything is basically on, like, well, how much can y'all pay, right? And then there's the cash price. If you're a cash payment person, if you're somebody who says, we don't have insurance, or we prefer not to go through insurance, we just want to pay the cash price. How much is it? What can we do to either negotiate it or just pay that price and get out the door? So the more we can get transparency on all this stuff, the better. And if there's a way to take those cash prices and apply it to your deductible or whatever the case may be, these are the things that are make our lives easier, right? These are the non-sexy bills that come through the committee, that come through the legislature, that just try and make our lives just a little bit better. There was a bill, and it was just a hearing, so we'll get into the full bill later. But there was a bill presented by Senator Guthrie last week that would make it a rule that, and again, we don't know the full details yet, but the gist of it is that it would require that legislators can only run a certain number of bills a session. So they can't come in with 30, 40, 50, 60 bills and try to get them all through and clog up the system and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And he wanted to condense the number of bills. And you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, that sounds like a great idea because there are too many bills coming through. And I'm going to half agree with you on this because I was looking at that legislation thinking, okay, you want to limit the number of bills that can come into the legislature, especially during a time where we have a ton of conservatives who are presenting bills that are trying to deregulate, that are trying to make it life easier for you and me, and get rid of restrictions and open up avenues towards more freedom and the ability to have more, keep more of your money, the ability to start businesses, the ability to not be hassled by the government or other regulations. And so you're going to see, we're seeing a lot more of those bills because there's a lot more conservatives in the legislature. So I may be on that scope where I'm kind of like, okay, if you want to limit the number of bills that restrict our freedoms, I'm all for it. But I don't think there should be any limit on any bills, any number of bills that free us from government control. So I'm in that camp, to be on the record. Okay, so let's do this. We know Brian Allman is on deck, so we'll have him. We're going to take a quick break. Make sure we get sorted. We want to check in to make sure Brian Lenny isn't, hasn't been hit over the head or something in the hallway. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll check in on that, see the status there, and if we can get Brian Allman in after the break, we will do that. So we'll do a quick short deal. We'll show you some things that are going on in committees, and we'll be right back. Stick with us.
That's exactly what happened. You want to pull the tape? You can pull the tape because we now got video.
Idaho is the dirt under your fingernails after an honest day's work. Idaho is the hug around your neck when your daughter spells her first word. Idaho is the written word of the law, steadfast and impartial, guarding liberty for all. Idaho is the family rifle passed down, a legacy of protection and the right to stand firm. Idaho is the echo of your own voice, unshaken and free, standing tall among the world's silenced. Idaho is the home that's built to weather storms, not empty wallets. Idaho is the quiet trust between a patient and healer, unbroken and sacred. Idaho is the hymn carried by the Spirit, gathering neighbors together in faith and purpose. Idaho is the laughter around a campfire, a family's bond growing stronger with every word. Idaho is the pioneer's will, firm and clear. We govern ourselves, free and unbound. Idaho is what America was. Let's keep it that way. Ask your legislator to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge to preserve our shared values. We ride together.
To the white water runs on the pass-through. Golden potatoes, farmers stand strong. Cattle and dairy, they're feeding us all. From boys and nights with a bright city glow, to quarter lanes, calm waters below. Spotty buddy waves with a smile so wide, sharing our story with American pride. So raise that flag, let freedom fly. Echo liberty from plains to mountains high.
All right, folks, those are the committees and what was going on this morning, what's going on in the afternoon today. So we hope we can update those slides for you every day and let you know what's going on in the committees. You got to know what's going on. You can also, of course, bookmark the legislative site yourself and head over there and do that. Want to remind you, please subscribe on YouTube. It's blowing up over there, you guys. We hit when we started 2 weeks ago, we had about 2,000 subscribers, and we're up over 3,500, 3,600 now. It just keeps growing. So thank you for sharing the broadcast. Thank you for watching us on YouTube. This is fantastic. Very good. And then a reminder, call in. 208-402-4915 is the number to dial. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the air. Leave your name and town. And we'll be sure to get your message out to the masses. And of course, IdahoSignal.live. If you want to listen to us audio only, you can head out over there. This past weekend, I was in, I'm up here in Kootenai County, and I had the privilege of moderating the town hall with the Kootenai County elected officials. And there's some footage there. We were at a beautiful church, and I got to ask some fantastic questions, all fielded by the audience. I think maybe I had one follow-up question myself. But other than that, most of the elected officials were there, and they all performed very well. It was very civil. I'd like to take this moment to say, everybody ran a great thing. There was no biting, there was no kicking and screaming, and it was a very productive day. And that was last Saturday. Okay, let's bring in Brian Allman here. Brian, of course, Gem State Chronicle, our contributing editor. Good to see you today, Brian. Lots of activity this morning in the Health and Welfare Committee. We'll get to that in a moment, but I think the big news this morning is the flag bill, the flag and punishment enhancement bill. Why don't we get everybody up to speed on what the flag bill was last year and kind of what brought us to this point this morning?
All right, it's good to be back, Matt. And yes, Representative Hill, who presented the bill this morning, he's been champing at the bit for this for about 9 months, and so he finally got his chance. As I'm sure everybody knows, various cities decide to celebrate the LGBTQ plus whatever culture by doing various forms of the pride flag, the rainbow flag, the progress flag, or whatever other names they call it. And in Boise, they used to do it every June for Pride Month. Well, at some point, they decided to just do it permanently to show that Boise is a welcoming place for the LGBTQ plus whatever community. Well, and that rubbed some Boise residents the wrong way. And so last year, the legislature came up with a bill to say that government buildings, like city halls, can only fly the flags that represent all of us, like the state of Idaho flag, the American flag, various military flags, tribal flags if you're on tribal land, things like that. Well, first, Mayor Lauren McLean of Boise, she simply defied the law. She said, no, we're not going to take it down. And then she actually issued an executive order as the mayor saying that, well, this Progress pride flag is now an official flag of the city of Boise. And her council backed her up. It's, there's 6 council seats in Boise, and 5 of them are pretty solidly left-wing progressive Democrats. There's 1 Republican on there holding the line. So that showed 2 things. One, there's questions about how enforceable that law was. I've heard various opinions from different lawyers. I've heard lawyers who say, yes, the government really can come down on her. The attorney general could do something. Others say, no, it might not be that simple. Besides, if you go into civil court, it could be tied up for years. Let's just see what the legislature can do to enforce it. Because the other part of it is that there was a loophole there saying that you can fly the official city flag. Well, Boise said this flag is an official flag now, and so we can fly it all we want. Well, Representative Hill, he's been working on a bill, several others along with him, to try and close that loophole, and we'll see how it goes in that hearing this morning.
Yes, and it was a long hearing. I expected it to be fairly short. I had my morning all mixed around. I thought health and welfare would be very long, and this bill would go very short. But it was almost a full half hour for this bill. There was many questions back and forth, and Ted Hill, as he's wanting to do, is very I don't want to say stubborn, but he's very adamant, and so he will fight for his cause and his belief. And I think at one point the sticking point here was on some of the language in the bill, because what he had in there was that the cities actually couldn't fly an official city flag. They can't fly the city or county flags. They can only fly the American flag, the state flag, and so forth. And so he had a little bit of pushback on why can't you allow the city flag. And so we have a small clip from that where he answers that question. Let's take a listen. It's about 2 minutes. Let's take a listen.
One thing about the city flag, the whole reason why I said no city flag is that's exactly what mayors will do. They're not official. They're not mandated. They're not voted on. The mayor just makes the flag she wants or he wants. That's the problem here. This is the whole reason why I'm doing this, is if I'm a Muslim and I think I want to have the Shahada flag and I want that out, and I'm going to make it so because I'm the mayor and I can do that. Executive order, right? Well, that's what this mayor does. The objective of this is to close that down. I know it's part of the baby with the bathwater, but that's the problem. They will do this. They'll step in and do whatever they want. And then when I'm mayor, I'm going to put the Navy flag out there every day. Is that fair? Well, probably not. What about the Air Force? Whatever. The mayor will run whatever she wants to or he wants to do. That's the problem. They turn it into a political thing. So we need to shut that down. If it wasn't, it didn't become that. But, our mayor here wanted, the pride flag is going to be a city flag, and I'm going to make it so. She said, that's our city flag. Oh, really? Okay. That's the problem here. The whole reason why this bill is happening is because of that. And we don't need any more. If she had put the same flag every day, a different flag every day, I don't think anybody would have said anything. If you had the pride flag and you put the Navy flag up and you put this flag and that flag every day, it wouldn't be a problem. Standing in here right now, if I have American flag and the state flag and a pride flag, and I got a problem with that. So why don't we put 100 flagpoles around here and everyone gets the flag? I don't have a problem with that. That's the balance. And I talked to the mayors in my city and Star, and that's good. They want to have the blue line flag. Well, that's a cool flag. Everyone likes that, but it doesn't represent everybody. It's a small piece. Is it fair? Well, I guess let's be fair. It's not. And both the mayors agreed. They're good with that. We'll get rid of our city flags. I'll put up the Navy flag. I want to focus on that piece. It's important. Otherwise, we're going to have activist mayors that will continue to do whatever they want. And I don't think that's what we need to see. Let's bring the country together. Let's get back together and focus on those right behind us.
Yeah, Brian. So there's the argument. Just say nope. Everybody out of the pool.
Basically, I'm not sure if banning city or county flags is the right way to go about this, but it shows where this debate has gone. We've gotten to this point. Because what is the point of a flag? A flag is about sending a message. A flag is about claiming territory. The image of the Spanish explorer planting the flag on the shores of the New World and claiming it in the name of the Queen. So what is the mayor of Boise doing here? She is waving this flag that represents 10%, maybe 15% of the population of Boise. But she and the council members who support her are saying, well, this shows that Boise is a welcoming city to these people. However, various demographic statistics say that Christians make up, 50, 60, 70% of Boise, and yet they wouldn't never consider waving a Christian flag. That would just be wrong. They talk about how welcoming it is, but there's a flip side to that. That flag over City Hall is saying that if you have beliefs that are contrary to the LGBTQ plus agenda, then you're not welcome here. And I think Representative Hill gets at something very important. If we have government buildings flying flags, they should be flags that represent everyone. And there's no flag that represents everyone like the American flag, like the state of Idaho flag. Those say, no matter who you are, whether you're a Christian or LGBTQ or whatever, however you might categorize yourself.
Community. We didn't talk about the Basque community yet, but go ahead.
That's a different issue there. Those are the flags that say, no matter what, you are welcome here. You are under this banner. Whereas I think the pride flag, it's, they say it's welcoming, but I see it as attempting to divide.
Yeah, it's a conquest. It's conquest. I've written about this multiple times. We had it published on The Blaze. Like, this is about conquest. You're exactly right, Brian. Throughout entire human history, we've flown flags to signal to everyone around who's in charge. It's about who's in charge. And in this country, great job, guys. Yeah, there's my article on The Blaze. In this country, the United States flag is flown because the United States is in charge. And in Idaho, the Idaho flag is flown because it's Idaho that's in charge. You do see the Boise City flag there, which is that blue flag with the word Boise on it, just above the pride flag there. And so essentially what this bill is saying is you can't even fly that flag. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like where I think maybe I diverge a little bit with you on this topic. But I'm going to let the legislators make the argument first. There was an exchange here because the way the bill and the motions to approve this bill were going forward was there was a debate on whether or not we should ban cities from flying their official city flag, which would have included that Boise flag. And so I believe Representative Bruce Skog, Representative Joe Alfieri took issue with that and said, no, we shouldn't stop cities from flying their own flag. And there was definitely some back and forth on that. That was between Representative Jaron Crane and Representative Joe Alfieri. Let's watch that clip, and then we'll have reactions after that.
And my reasoning for that is not effectively, but actually what would happen is we would overnight outlaw city and county flags from being flown anywhere in the state. I think that's a mistake. So I do like the change that Representative Skog has made, and I understand the objective here, and I think we're in agreement on that, is that political statements should not be made by elected officials officially on our flagpoles. It's as simple as that. We don't make political statements. We represent everybody in the community, and we represent everybody in the community by the display of that flag. That flag represents the community, whether it's city, county, or state. And so, I understand the intent here. I see a lot of problems with this down the road, but I still think it's, on the whole, it's a good measure.
Representative Crane, 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I make a comment to Representative Alfieri?
Certainly.
Okay. Just for a point of discussion, I think one of the things that Representative Hill has outlined in his legislation is that you can pick whatever agenda you have in the world today, and you can adopt that agenda as your city official flag and fly that flag. You could do that as a county. I think that's why he's going to the lengths that he's going to say no city flags, no county flags, because a mayor can adopt any agenda they choose. There's a couple that are coming on the ballot here in this year. You could technically adopt those as your agenda, and that is now your official city flag or your county flag, and fly it. And so I think that's what he's trying to get at is no political statements. Let's just use unification through the United States flag and the other flags he's outlined. So that would just be my comment back.
Representative Alfieri.
Yeah, if I may respond to that. I agree with you, Representative Crane. However, that is one of the flip sides of a representative republic.
Yeah, there we go, Brian. What's your take on that exchange?
Well, I don't, I'm still not sure where I come on this issue because I don't like that cities can, exercise this loophole by just saying that the pride flag or, a Muslim flag or maybe a marijuana flag is an official flag and we're going to fly it to show that, we're welcoming to these things. I do think Representative Alfieri is right there that this is, one of the trade-offs with representative government. You get what you vote for, and do the people of Boise want this? I mean, it sounds like a majority might. Where do you draw the line between letting people have what they want and establishing a uniform system here in our state that says you're not going to have these divisive ideological flags flying as essentially a statement from the government saying, like I said, saying that if you're not on board with this agenda, you're not welcome here. I thought Representative Mickelson actually had an interesting point. Why not do, essentially what Representative Hill's bill is a whitelist saying only these flags are allowed. Representative Mickelson suggested the opposite. Why not a blacklist? Why not say, well, you can't have this flag or this flag or this flag? The one issue I see with that is that there's always going to be loopholes there too. They'll find some way around the wording of it to say, well, this isn't actually on your list, so we're going to fly this one, and it's essentially the same thing. So I'm actually almost at a loss here as to how we handle this problem.
Well, I think the answer is right there is the legislature can't handle this problem because this is a cultural problem. It's up to the people. And I, for one, say, no, cities should be allowed to fly their flags if the city is going to go to the lengths to adopt the pride flag, the Progress Pride flag, whatever it's called now. They're always changing the name to this. Then at least we know where they stand. I mean, by saying you can't fly it, any city flag, and by basically putting a restriction, it's almost like saying you can't march. It's not the same. It's almost like saying you can't march in the parade. Like we can't have the KKK in the street. We can't have the Alphabet Mafia in the streets, and you can't go out there and wave your flag and support them. I, for one, I want to see that. I want to know where people stand. I want to know who you are. And I want the people to wake up that around you because we end up in this complacency with our head in the sand thinking everything's just hunky-dory. But the fact is Boise is not hunky-dory, right? And you allude to that, the fact that, yeah, maybe half of the city or the majority of the city is all for it. But let's find out for sure if they are. And we just had an election and in Boise, and there were conservatives running for the city council. Granted, they were in a district that was probably the most left-leaning district, and they didn't make it through. But at the same time, you've got a mayor's race coming up in a couple of years now, and I would posture that this would still be an issue if that flag is flying. And let's see what Boise is made of, because if you can't get out and vote, right? Because that's what we do, right? I said at the top of the show, what does the left do? The left does what they're doing in Minnesota and what they're doing in Minneapolis. And what we do, we're not going to be violent about it. We are going to vote. But that's the only thing we have to do is vote. And there's too many people that don't vote. Human history is covered with dead bodies of children, women, and old people because there was no voting. The only way to change the regime, to change leadership in your neck of the woods back throughout all of human history was by bloodshed. And today we are so privileged. All we have to do is show up and vote. You can even request a ballot to your house currently to vote. You don't even have to go anywhere. And yet people still don't do it. So let's see what Boise's made of. Let's see what Boise's made of. They want to continue to fly this flag. They want to adopt it as their city flag. It'll be interesting. One of the key things, and I don't know if you saw this, Brian, is when they decided to add the words on the end of the bill to say cannot fly city or county flags. Did they say a city or county flag or the city, county, or flag? because I think that might be another distinction here, because the city flag was that Boise flag, and if it's a city flag, Parks and Rec and Art Commission or whatever, I'm not sure where that stands. So I guess we'll find out when the bill gets posted.
It looks like it hasn't been printed yet. So
yeah, so we'll find out there. But so that's my take on it, Brian.
Well, one thing jumped out at me there. You mentioned the KKK marching in the street, and that used to be the big thing that the ACLU said. We're viewpoint neutral. We just protect the right of free expression, no matter how much we disagree with it. I have to think that if there was a city in Idaho that got like a majority of racist, white supremacist, anti-Semitic, whatever your flavor of person on the city council, and they voted to make some very offensive symbol as their city flag, I have to think the legislature might feel a little more urgency to go deal with that than they do with the pride flag.
You would think there'd be outrage through the roof, and rightly so, rightly so. But for some reason the narrative is so twisted that the pride flag doesn't mean anything. Right? It doesn't have that same level of triggering that the Nazi flag being flown at the top would, right? But think about what's going on today. These are the people who are pushing transgender ideology on our children. Mm-hmm. They are literally across the world have been manipulating children into having surgeries, right? Thank God we banned that here in Idaho, even though it might still be in the courts, who knows? But the thing is like, this is what the left is all about. And that is why I look at that and I see that as a symbol of conquer. It's a conquering symbol. There it is. It's flying out there. We own this city, the capital of your beloved Idaho.
Well, just remember where we were just 3-4 years ago during the Biden administration. You saw that flag hanging from the White House, hanging on U.S. embassies all over the world. It was a symbol of conquest there, and thankfully we're starting to regain ground. But Boise is holding out right now, and we've got to figure out how to deal with that.
We do, and it's a big issue. People might be laughing, "Oh, the flag, who cares? Who cares?" This is a big issue. I can't stress it enough, you guys. I cannot stress it enough. Look at the passion in Ted Hill. He's willing to say, forget even city flags, right? Forget even city flags. But Monica Church, the Democrat, Representative Monica Church, pointed out, well, you did make a carve out for the Basque community, which isn't a country. It's a community in Spain that has I don't know the entire history, but it has a somewhat controversial history in Spain, right? And so we're gonna be able to fly their flag in Boise if they want to. So there are certain communities and things that we're okay with flying, but so it doesn't make sense here. But and so it just kind of shows this sort of trying to use government in a way that is not what it was designed to do, which is you can't be authoritarian about it. You have to actually set the rules that are free and then let the chips fall where they may. And that's kind of like where I see it. It's a cultural problem. It's a cultural problem. And the reason why the legislature can't get this fixed is because you're butting heads between negative rights and positive rights, I think.
Yeah, it's a tough conundrum, and that this has been an issue ever since I've been involved in politics here in Idaho. What to do with Boise, because Boise's pushing the envelope on things like this, and the legislature, which represents the entire state and is much more conservative, obviously, is pushing back. Things, Boise tried to become a sanctuary city for abortion after Roe v. Wade was overturned, and the legislature smacked that down and said, if you do that, we're going to withhold tax dollars from you. This is just part of the same battle, and it really is a battle, like you said, over territory, conquest. The liberals in Boise see this as their base of power, and they want to expand. They want to take over the whole state. And we conservatives who are outside of Boise and our friends who are fighting the good fight within the city limits see this as the same way. And if we don't fight back, then we can't let them take any more ground than they've already taken.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we need to reclaim ground. We need to be on offense. I've said it all this session so far, ever since this year. I mean, it's like we have to move the ball forward. We cannot waste time. Okay, Brian, stick around here. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to go through some of the rest of the things that happened in Health and Welfare Committee and wrap up there. And then we will check in on our friends elsewhere and see if anybody else wants to come in and join us. Be sure to give us a call. 208-402-4915 is the number. Give us a call. Give us a voicemail, and we will play it on the air. And we will be back right after this.
Coming from within the system, which the process in the system is broken.
All Idaho lawmakers swear an oath to support the Idaho and U.S. constitutions. But how's that working out for you? Because not all Idaho lawmakers share the same values. That's where the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge comes in. 10 statements inspired by those two founding documents that are designed to preserve our shared values. Values such as education freedom, safeguarding free speech, defending our protected right to self-defense, and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. When a lawmaker signs the pledge, they are performing an act of political courage, accepting the challenge to be a champion for our values, and serving with political integrity. To find out if your lawmaker signed the pledge, visit idahopledge.com. Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We ride together.
Woo, man, the comments are spicy today over, I don't forget which platform I was looking at. I was just looking at some of the comments and oh boy, I love it. I love seeing that. That's good. That's good. Good activity going on over there. Okay. Brian is still with us. We wanted to go through some of the committee stuff this morning. Again, not the sexiest bills in the room, not the most controversial bills in the room, but things that are here and designed to make your life a little bit better. Representative Ehlers out of Meridian had a bill this morning addressing the cottage food industry, and we don't mean cottage cheese, right, Brian?
No, the cottage foods, as Ehler will explain here, is basically if you set up at a farmer's market or you just want to sell to people on the street or even just have a lemonade stand. It's selling foods that are not going through the process of a commercial kitchen and inspections and everything. I actually have a little bit of experience with this. Years ago, my wife and I set up a gluten-free bakery where we would make cookies and banana bread and some fun stuff like that and sell it at farmers markets. We did that for a couple of years, just off and on, just for fun. Never made any real money, but we had to go through this process where we go through the Central Health District, get a cottage food permits, got to inform people that this has not been inspected, and we weren't allowed to do things like have anything that needed refrigeration. So I couldn't make a slice of pie and sell that because that that needed to be refrigerated, whereas we could do cookies and banana breads. So it's very interesting to see Representative Ehlers come up with this. So.
Yeah, so let's take a look at his presentation this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee. I'm Representative Jeff Ehlers, District 21 in Meridian, here to discuss RS 33005. This is about cottage food industries. So just as background, cottage foods operations, as defined by the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, produce foods that do not require, they can be distributed directly to consumer without any regulatory oversight. And they have to have certain labels that say it was prepared in a home kitchen. It wasn't subject to regulation or inspection. So we allow those for what's called non-time and temperature controlled foods. Think of like cookies or like cereal or things like that. But for time and temperature controlled foods, such as anything that has to go to a refrigerator or frozen. Pardon my voice, I'm losing my voice. Those are regulated. And so what this RS proposes is sort of like... I'll have to have my AI assistant come talk here soon. For those type of things, it's like a lemonade stand bill. So for a small entrepreneur that's just trying to get going, that maybe they're selling like, thank you, refrigerated pies or ice cream or things like that. It doesn't make sense, and it's not affordable or cost effective for them have to go get a commercial kitchen. They can't. They're not going to be able to test their product in the market. So all this does is sets a standard of $5,000. If they're below that, then they can test out their product without all of the regulations. They'll essentially just be a cottage food industry like cookies or something like that. So with that,
all
Mr.
right,
Chairman,
very good,
happy to
Brian.
answer
So just as you just said, you couldn't do pies and ice cream before, but this bill will help do that. Start your ice cream business.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We'll see what some of the questions are when the real hearing comes across. Obviously, the reason those regulations are in place is to prevent you from, selling stuff that's going to make people sick. Nobody wants that. But I think most things that most people in this space would make, you don't go to the farmer's market expecting you're going to get listeria or something.
I mean, just, you go to any ballpark in a big city, and there's those guys, standing outside with a hot dog cart, selling, hot dogs and with condiments and things that have been baking out in the sun, I mean, like the whole health protect, I can walk by a food truck or a food cart and be like, I'm going to skip that one. Like no one's forcing me to buy the tamale from the little grandma on the corner out of her cart, that hasn't been inspected. So the more we can allow this thing to happen, the better we can judge this. And if someone's really entrepreneurial, they don't want to make people sick, right?
Exactly.
That's the whole point here. So the more we can get on this train, the better. I'm all for it.
Yeah, and one more thing on that. Last year, they actually passed a bill saying that small sellers under a certain threshold, I don't remember what it was, don't actually have to report sales taxes either. So
right.
This is like a 1-2 punch in making it easier for people to get out there and do the farmer's market thing or the food truck or whatever.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's shift gears back to Representative Chris Bruce. We talked about one of his bills at the top of the hour with regarding cash payments, or getting cash prices when you're going in for medical treatment. This was here. This was regarding. He had a bill last year, and maybe you can, if you recall, it was about blood transfusions. Do you recall the bill from last year?
Yes, and I was actually in the room for the Senate committee hearing on that, where they ended up killing it. It passed the House committee, passed the House floor, and then died in the Senate committee because basically the blood industry, I guess you want to call it, Red Cross and such that handle these things, they came and they had a lot of concerns. The idea was that you could, label the blood that is donated to say whether the person donating had the COVID vaccine or not. Because there are people on the other end receiving blood who are concerned about that, who want to, have blood that has, not been contaminated, as you might say. But the Red Cross folks and the other lobbyists who spoke on it, pointed out that blood goes across the state lines. How do we ensure that we can track that? What about how can we tell if they have it? Sometimes it might not show up in a test, and you just have to rely on somebody's word on that. So there were all sorts of questions, and the Senate committee decided to put the brakes on it. So this was an interesting alternative that actually came up in that discussion. What Representative Bruce is presenting this morning.
Right. Yeah. Let's take a look real quick.
Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the committee. My name is Representative Bruce. I'm District 23, which is South Canyon, South 8, and all of Hawaii. Many of you remember I brought a bill last year that was House Bill 131 that dealt with labeling blood. That became a heavy lift. They brought up some issues that we had over in the Senate with it. So this bill, this RS, just allows for directed donation. So if you want to donate your own blood, or if you know someone that you want to have them donate your own blood, that it just allows for that.
Committee, any questions? Representative Kaler.
For a motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion's always in order.
I would move to introduce RS 32945.
Committee, we have a motion to introduce RS 32945. Not seeing any other lights on. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. RS 32945.
Motion passes. There it is. All right. So much simpler here, Brian. You just find a buddy. Is that kind of the thing? Find a blood donor buddy.
Basically, it's like you can choose to donate your kidney to somebody, a family member or a friend who has the same blood type. Seems like the same thing, and I'm surprised that we need a law to allow it. But it seems common sense to me that you can do this if you wish.
I do recall that there are some places where you can put your own blood on storage somewhere, hopefully to be used in an emergency. But again, that's judging whether or not the emergency happens near the place where your blood is stored and not somewhere else where they need to do an immediate blood transfusion or get you blood to keep you alive. Anyway, yeah. So like you said, interesting that kind of thing wasn't already legal if not. So good on that one. All right, let's move over to Representative Heather Scott. She had a bill last year to get rid of something called the Yellow Dot program. Speaking of being in an emergency, and we'll let her kind of explain it here of what happened. But it's interesting that she said the bill died in the Senate, probably because they just ran out of time. But we'll get into that in a moment here. Let's watch this exchange.
Chairman and committee members, today before you is RS 32915, which would repeal the Yellow Dot program. If it sounds familiar, it's because this committee passed this bill and it passed the floor last year and it was held in the Senate. So we're going to try it again this year. I can go into details if you have questions about the program, but the bill would repeal a chapter, which is 10 sections of code, about 3.5 pages. And it was a program established in 2020. It's not really being used. Technology has kind of advanced past the program, and it's really just cleaning up code. But for that, I would ask for the introduction.
Representative Furman.
For a question, Mr. Chairman.
Questions in order.
I'm just curious, Representative Scott, and I think I voted for this last time, I have no problems, but what was the issue in the Senate and how is it different this time than last time?
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Representative Furman. I don't know that there'll be a problem on the Senate this time. I just think they didn't get to it last time. It wasn't a priority.
Representative McCann.
Just a quick question, and you can bring it back if you'd like, but what is the cost to the state for this program?
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. It was originally estimated at $17,000 that it would cost. They've spent over $15,000 over 5 years, which is not very much money. That's because nobody's using the program. So they're printing out all these kits, and nobody's really using the program. So it's really just wasteful spending of that $15,000. So they can get grants, but this is really a program that's unnecessary, and it's there's other ways to alert EMS that there's a problem with if you have a medical condition. The other thing is the health and welfare does not even keep the records. So they just kind of give you some sheets and a yellow dot and say, put it on your window and put it in your glove box, and hoping that the EMT, everything catches on, that the EMT start using the program, but nobody's really using it. So.
Okay, Brian. See, so this brings up so much. Like you could see somebody argue, why are we fighting to get rid of a $17,000 program when we have millions and millions that we need to cut and get rid of? But at the same time, she's talking about a program that's not even managed correctly, or people don't even pay attention to it. It was something that was passed, and it was probably passed with a lot of fervor at the time. Like, oh, we need this. And it's like, here's an example of just complete utter failure. And then to double down on that, she tried to get it removed last year, and they couldn't even do that for a simple program. Right. And here we are trying to repeal Medicaid expansion. You really think that's going to happen when we're spending time here debating over this? Like, this should be like boom, 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 done. Like, anybody questioning and asking questions about this is retarded, in my opinion.
Well, that's kind of the conundrum of trying to repeal government programs, like what was it, Reagan or Milton Friedman or whoever said that there's an closest thing to eternal life on earth is a government program, because once it's there, it's hard to get rid of it. And you have big programs that are hard to get rid of. They serve so many people. There's so much infrastructure in place. We can't just wind that down. But then the little ones, they say, well, what's the point? It's a waste of time. We shouldn't even bother. Just leave it alone. And so you end up removing nothing. And I commend Representative Scott for bringing this up a second year. If very few people are using it, then it doesn't matter what the price tag is. The fact is, it's not something government should be doing. So let's get it out of our code.
Yeah, get rid of it. Just get rid of it. And there should be you look at Guthrie with his limiting the number of bills that can come through. How about a rule that says if you're getting rid of a program that costs less than 10 grand or 20 grand or 100 grand, and you want to get rid of it, and get rid of it. Get rid of it. We don't need it. If it's not, if it's serving that few of people, it has no business in being funded by the government.
Mm-hmm. How about for every bill that is introduced, you have to introduce another bill to remove a program? For every bill that
there we go.
One, you remove one.
That's right.
Remove two or three.
Exactly. That's what Trump did, right? For every new regulation, you move two. I love it. That's the kind of trade-off and deals we absolutely need. Yeah. Okay, Brian. All right, Brian, where can everybody follow you and find you and make sure they're keeping tabs on what you're up to?
At Brian Allman. I did a couple of live threads this morning watching the various committees. GemStateChronicle.com. I just published something today about just kind of a philosophical, rhetorical question about who are the people. We talk about we the people want this. We the people do this. Well, who are the people? Who are we? Just some interesting discussion there, and obviously I'll be covering more stuff the legislature's up to in the coming days.
All right, fantastic. We'll check in with you again tomorrow. Thanks as always, Brian. Oh my goodness, folks. We have a lot. There's a lot this week. We'll be sharing with you the committees, what's going on with the committees. You guys, you're getting ready. You're seeing how this works, right? You guys are seeing how this works. And you got to get ready for it, because we need you to testify. We need you to show up. We need you to make some noise, and we need you to get behind an issue that's passionate for you. Not everybody can be passionate about everything, okay? And at this program, we try and dip into as many different areas across the spectrum as we can, so that you're aware of, right? You're aware of. We have our few pet issues here that we're focused on, and we're happy to see other people jump on board. We've been working on educating people on the Blaine Amendment, and our friends over at Mountain State Policy Center just jumped on board that, as well as they released an article, I think today, on repealing the Blaine Amendment. If you want to know more about what that Blaine Amendment is, and you want to share the URL, head over to blaine.idahopetitions.com. Watch the short documentary over there, and please sign the petition. You can go there directly at that URL, hit that QR code in the corner, and you can make your way over there. While we are away for the next 23 hours, 208-402-4915 is the number to call, 208-402-4915. Anything you saw on the program today, we want to hear your opinion. We want to play it on the air, especially on the flag bill. Should we say cities can't fly their own flags? Or should we say, no, cities can fly their flags, and if they choose to adopt a lunatic flag as their own, then so be it. They're lunatics. So if they want to do that, they can do that. I'm very fired up today, folks, and it's only gonna get hotter, as they say. Thank you for joining the program. We will see you tomorrow, right here. See you then.
Church bells ring through the valley air. Rodeo lights, what a life we share. Esto perpetua, forever we'll sing. God, land, and family. Let freedom So raise that flag, let freedom fly. Echo liberty from plains to mountains high. America's heart beats red, white, and blue. 250 years of me and you, yeah. Lift it up loud. Idaho proud, American true. Idaho proud.
stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.